Hey everyone, we are back with another Penny Dreadful review. Now, Penny Dreadful airs late Friday nights, and it's a little bit too late for us to do a review, so we do those on Mondays. And so here it is. It's Season 2, Episode 3, and we got kind of a flashback, kind of an origin story for Vanessa, which I thought was really, really cool.
What's really great about Penny Dreadful is that they do a flashback episode so far every season, and the flashback is about Vanessa and relates to whatever the problem is of that season. And it just kind of gives you a little bit more insight. And they do flashbacks in such a way that it's not boring, because a lot of times flashbacks are boring.
Yeah. Origin stories are problematic anyway because typically you get an origin story and you're waiting for the rest of the story afterwards. And in Season 1 and in this last episode of Season 2, you get the origin story almost in the middle of the season. So you've got, okay, here's this big problem that they got to solve, and here's what started it.
Yeah.
Or here's a piece of it that's going to be important later.
And that's actually really good because instead of starting the season off and you're like, okay, what's the problem they're going to deal with?
Story.
You've kind of already had part of the story, and this is just kind of a little break to give you a little background information.
Yeah. And the episode kicks off, and Ethan is sitting, he's kind of squatting in Vanessa's room, and he's looking at the scorpion that she drew in blood, and she walks in on him, and he's like, "Look, you just tell me what's going on. Let me know here." He's asking her to confide in him, and eventually she does, and she gives him this story. Now, the flashback begins with Vanessa. She's already arrived at the Cutwife's house, and the Cutwife is a daywalker. And she's there, and there's like a guardian spell or something to where she cannot pass the threshold into the yard.
So she kind of stands out there and she waits.
For a couple of days.
Yeah, it does seem like she just stands out there for a couple of days. And eventually the Cutwife, who we find out later is named Joan, she finally allows her to come through. And it's almost like Joan sensed her coming to her,
Which
and was
she
trying.
mentions later on.
And she was trying to not get involved almost, but her determination kind of, I guess, won her over, for lack of a better word.
She's like, I felt you coming as soon as you got in the area, and you're bringing, evil with you, and I didn't want anything to do with it. But now, I'm wrapped up in this, and I have no choice.
Since it doesn't seem like she's going to go anywhere, she just allows her to help out, and then her natural talent comes out, and she's like, wow, I have to help her out.
Yeah. So there's a little story going on with the Cutwife as well. She basically performs abortions for the locals, is the reason they call her the Cutwife. But there's a local baron or something that he has cattle grazing nearby, and he's trying to buy up her land, and she won't let him. She's owned it since the 1600s, which is like 200 years previously.
Yeah.
So this is an old lady.
Soon after Vanessa arrives, the Nightwalker from the present storyline is standing outside the barrier, and it turns out that that Nightwalker and the Daywalker that she's getting the training from used to be in a coven together, and the rest of the coven decided to be lured by the devil and start doing dark magic, and she didn't, so they kind of cast her out and branded her with a pentagram on her back. And the Nightwalker makes it very, very clear that she wants Vanessa. And that she'll basically do anything to get her. And
the Nightwalker, she kind of did a show of strength where she almost hypnotized Joan, the Cutwife, and tricked her outside of the threshold. So, but Vanessa interceded, and
this is very typical of good versus evil. The reason why people turn evil or bad or turn to the black magic is because it's stronger
and easier.
And easier.
Once you turn down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny.
But it comes with a lot of risk, which of course I'm sure we'll get later. We'll get some of that. But that's just kind of one of those things where it's the good witch is not able to withstand the power of the bad witch.
And the story, continues with Vanessa receiving some training, some tips. Joan shows her a book. It's a cursed book, and she's like, if you ever get in a position where all hope is lost, you can use this spell, but it's going to isolate you from God forever, and there's no coming back from it.
It's basically like a last resort.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that's going to come into play later, obviously.
Yeah, they wouldn't have introduced it otherwise. Yeah. The Cutwife also wants to leave her land and her property to Vanessa and have her continue and become the new Cutwife because she knows that she's dying. Obviously magic has greatly extended her life, but she's lived too long and she knows she's dying and she wants Vanessa to take over.
And Vanessa, she decides not to, but the house is in her name. We get that at the very end, that the deed's been transferred to her name. So if she ever decides to come back, which, again, I got to assume that she's going to at some point.
Yeah.
She's going to come back.
So the whole time that the Cutwife is training Vanessa, the Nightwalker is, I think she's seducing the guy who's in charge. Josh gets the husband-wife vibe from them.
I get a husband-wife thing going on. I'm not really sure. It could just be she's his dominatrix, but I got kind of a little bit more intimate vibe from that relationship.
I just thought she was seducing him and using her wily ways to get him to do what she wanted. But regardless...
And dude's a freak.
She does kind of convince him that the cattle dying, which is her, she's killing them, is because of Joan having that property and that having a witch there is cursing the land and that they needed to basically burn the witch. Not in so many words, but she does kind of put the seed in his mind and he just lets him do what he will, and he does. He takes it and brings it to the townspeople, and they decide that she has to go. She's the reason why they're in poverty and such.
And of course, the townspeople, they all gather, pitchforks, torches, the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
And they burn the witch.
Yes, they do.
And they brand Vanessa with a cross. The episode ends with Vanessa leaving the cottage, and it kind of implies that she brought the cursed book with her, although it doesn't actually show her packing it.
Yeah.
But she does give it a kind of this long, lingering look.
Yeah, it shows it on the bookshelf for a couple of seconds, and you're like, yeah, she packed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm dying to know what you guys thought of this episode. I really, really enjoyed it. Like we said, for an origin story, basically, this was a really, really good episode. And origin stories usually are hit and miss.
Yes.
Okay, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
And don't forget that on Saturdays we do a topic of the week video, and we would like to know what topics you would suggest for that. So if you would put those down in the comments below, we will look at them, choose the one that we think we can make the best video for, and we will make a video and post that on Saturday.
Alright, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.